Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Very Biased Opinions. We have reached the final of Euro 2020, and it's a very special final for a number of reasons, not least because of the three lions have made it. Yes, that's right, folks. It is time to talk about England versus Italy. Thomas, according to my notes, these two sides have never been in a final before, and it's the first ever meeting between these two sides. Is that right?
You have done a lot of research, Ian, and that is correct.
Bingo. But before we do talk about who is going to win this battle, or indeed whether football is coming home or coming Rome, I know, calm down. Let's have a quick look at those semi-finals and how they got there. Let's have a quick look at Italy versus Spain, because Italy kind of squeaked through.
Yeah, I mean, not to completely belabor this, but Italy played Austria. They won 2-1 in the round of 16, but they were the better side the whole time. They play they play Belgium in the quarterfinals. They win 2-1. They're the better side the whole match, like hands down. Only have to defend the final 10 minutes. They're in complete control. And then they come up against the Spain side, and they just did some weird, not Italy stuff in it. They did not close down Busquets at all. They just let him run the entire match, which normally I love to criticize the commentators trying to find a storyline somewhere, but like no idea what was happening there. But they ground it out, and they looked like the Italy of old, the Italy that won a World Cup in my lifetime, the Italy that just you don't want to play. Like, you come near them, they go down. It's always a foul, arguing every decision, happy to put 11 men behind the ball and cheer every single tackle. And they took the lead against Spain even, and then Spain rightfully got a goal back. Fantastic finish from Morata. They just sliced Italy wide open. And it was also, sorry, I got so many things to say about this game. It was really interesting in that both goalkeepers looked absolutely useless in this. Donnarumma just made mistake after mistake. Every time the ball went near him, you panicked. I'm not sold on Unai Simon. I don't know why he's so highly rated in Spain.
They don't have any other keepers.
None. No one else. There's no one else who could do the job. And yeah, it was a crazy match. Both sides played incredibly well at times. Every time Italy got the ball, I thought they were going to score. Every time Spain got the ball, they fashioned a chance, but they're Spain and they refused to score goals. It went to a penalty shootout, and I'm sure you've seen Jorginho's penalty.
Beautiful. I mean, looked like better than he's ever done it before.
Didn't Simon clap him? Am I incorrect? Like, Simon literally did that.
Yeah, it didn't help him that Simone had already dived before they'd even started the run-up.
You're just lying down having a nap. Hit it over here, I'll block it. Hit it over there, it's fine.
But, you know, that when he gets it right, it is almost an unsavable penalty. And, I mean, Donnarumma looked massive in the goal.
Yeah, he did.
He looks, and but I mean, I thought that really Italy haven't been great in the knockout phases. I thought they were fantastic in the group phase. I thought they were a little bit lucky against Austria. Austria nearly nicked that game, and they put them under more pressure than they probably would have thought. Belgium, I thought, was kind of 50-50. Either side could have won that game. You can't begrudge Italy because they scored two great goals and then defended. But yeah, certainly. Certainly, Spain were the ones who deserved to win that game, in my opinion. Spain can't score. We talked about that. They haven't got any strikers, and Italy found a way. The unbelievable winning streak they've been on. I think they've lost a game for 2 years.
Yeah, so if they win this match, it sets the world record for international matches without a loss.
Well, what a shame what a shame that they won't. But maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Right, there was another semi-final, and I think it kind of went very, very kind of quietly by. Nothing to really talk about. But it was England versus Denmark, Thomas. How has your heart recovered from it?
I literally just got goosebumps when you said England versus Denmark. Last night was awesome. That was awesome. That's, I think, the best I've seen England play under Southgate. I think it's the best I've seen them play possibly since 2002 or 2006. Denmark took the lead. I'm going to call it Jordan Pickford. I mean, it's basically right down his throat, and somehow he doesn't get there. I'm not really sure why he doesn't get there.
Him and Chris Wilder, folks, are the two biggest keeper bashers in the world.
But it was interesting that in this tournament, in this round, 3 of the 4 goalkeepers kind of went missing. The only goalkeeper that turned up was Kasper Schmeichel, who was absolutely phenomenal for Denmark. A couple fingertip saves, I mean, Raheem Sterling, what are you doing with that volley directly into his body? But makes himself big, throws himself out, takes the volley full in the chest. He was awesome. But second half kicked off, and England were the better side, Ian. They just were.
Yeah, I was impressed with the way England responded. I mean, we talked about how it's been very plain sailing for England through this tournament, and they've always been in the lead in games and never had to come from behind. So they were a bit at sea at the start of this game. You can't deny it. Denmark were creating problems, and England were giving them kind of chances, really. But once England kind of turned it on, they were much the better side. A wonderful equalising goal, good work by Kane and Saka. Saka was quite quiet, but he came good when we needed him to. And, Sterling would have probably better that Sterling didn't get it, because he probably would have blazed it over. So probably better that the own goal went in. And yet, second half, it felt like England were much more in the ascendancy. Like Denmark couldn't really get out. They couldn't play balls over the top, mainly because of Walker. His pace was just so good at sweeping up, and England kind of marshalled kind of Paulson or whoever else they had up the top there, and the midfield just kind of took over. And it felt like England were the side that were going to get that second goal, unless Denmark got a goal from a set piece or something. And finally, eventually, it did come with a stone wall penalty.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the Harry Kane one looked like a lot more of a penalty than the other one. Harry Kane clearly got his foot to the ball, defender clearly tripped him, and the referee said that Harry Kane dived.
I think that's like... I think this is where VAR has been used very differently, and it's come into some criticism, obviously, for the Sterling one, which, let's not beat it around the bush, is soft and probably isn't a penalty. VAR is being used in this tournament to back referees up. Every decision that a referee makes, unless it is undeniably wrong, VAR is going to just back that referee. And I think that it works better that way. It's not perfect, but it does work better that way, because you could see both sides of it for the Kane one, and with the Sterling one, there's the minimal contact. Yeah. But once it's given, you can't really overturn it, as much as Denmark will disagree with that. And but that did leave Harry Kane from the penalty spot, and he was never going to miss, was he?
Until he did.
Yeah, I mean, it was a terrible penalty. It was really badly hit. It was really lucky that it came back out to Kane again to stick it in the back of the net. The person who shone a laser pen in Schmeichel's eyes is nothing short of an absolute prick, and should be never allowed to watch football ever again in a stadium. And it was coming. It was coming for England, wasn't it?
Oh God, they were all over him like a rash. It was probably the final 45 minutes, including the 30 minutes of extra time. England were just camped in Denmark's half. Denmark couldn't get the ball off them. When they did, they'd hoof it clear, and a center back or a right back or a left back would pick it up, and the attack would start again. And that was the first time we've seen England string quick passes together instead of slow passes. All tournament, they've been really slow, really lethargic in build-up play. This was the sort of game where it felt like the players just went, no, absolutely not. We are better than you, and we're going to show you we're better than you. And they were fantastic. And I mean, honestly, at the end of the game, I know it was game management, but we could have scored 4 more. And I'm not mad that they didn't, but there were multiple 5-on-4s, 4-on-4s, 3-on-4s where you're just you could cut them open. They've got nothing left.
Yeah, they were dead on their feet. I did not like how, and I don't blame Southgate for this, I blame England mentality of, once we got the second goal, instantly into retreat mode for 10 minutes, end of the first half, start of the second half.
Well, I mean, he also took Jack Grealish off and replaced him with Kieran Trippier.
I'll get to it, but he did obviously change that up. Mainly, he says it's because Denmark would just throw bodies up top, so we needed more defenders in there. He didn't have to sacrifice Grealish, but he did. But then eventually England realised, if we just keep this ball, we're going to win. And it was quite impressive the way they kept the ball for something like 7 minutes, just knocking it around at the end to make that end from a nervy game. Those last 5 minutes were relatively comfortable, where England were just kicking it around, and that was good to see. Look, let's not dwell on it too much, but have your little say on Grealish.
I mean, I thought you waited too long to put Grealish on. You put Grealish on, Grealish looked fine, but I mean, it's really tough to get into a game. You only get 20 minutes of play every other match.
I thought he played well. I really did think he played well when he came on.
I didn't understand him coming off. Part of the reason I didn't understand him coming off is do you not want to give Sterling a rest, who's played every minute of this? Do you not want to give Harry Kane a rest, who's played 89% of all the minutes? Does Philip? I think he took Rice off, didn't he? Does Phillips not need a break? Does someone else not need a break? And to bring on Kieran Trippier, who is a right back, and I think they dropped him to like center midfield or something, and they were just like, here, run around. It smacked of, where's James Ward-Prowse when you need him?
Two things. We've proved that Trippier can play anywhere in this tournament. I don't think he trusts Grealish defensively at all. I really don't.
No, I'm so happy. I'm so happy with England right now, and the Jack Grealish stuff, I'm just gonna have to let go now.
And to be fair to Grealish, no one spat the dummy out in the England camp over that. He's been very mature about it, so it is kind of a non-issue that outside of none of the players or the staff are making it an issue. So
no, I don't think he definitely didn't look happy though when he came off. Like, that was the face of a guy who'd only been on the pitch for 45 minutes as a sub and was like,
it's embarrassing. But I think he sees the bigger picture of, it's not a normal game. This isn't a November against West Brom away. This is.
Why is Mason Mount getting so much game time? I mean, I love Mason Mount, but he has been non-existent in this tournament.
Let's start by talking about that. Those semi-finals are done. Let's go into this England versus Italy clash. So let's start by looking at England. Is that a change you would make for this final then, Tom? You wouldn't play Mount? Or you're not interested in the
I don't think he's done anything to stay in the team. I think he'll start because he started every game except the one that he wasn't allowed to start. But I think Mason Mount's an incredible footballer. I think he's one of Chelsea's best players. And I think in theory, he might be one of England's. But he has offered so little from the centre midfield. And I think that may partially be that he's not great at connecting with Saka and Sterling. We know he's great at connecting with Jack Grealish. We've seen it a million times. It seemed like Mount and Grealish played a lot of the games. And I think he's better at linking up with Foden as well. There's something about Saka and Sterling's play that maybe they both drop central to get the ball in the first place, which means it forces Mason Mount out wide, or it faces Mason Mount backwards into more players. And it feels like most of this tournament, Mason Mount's position is being dictated by everyone around him, not him. And I don't know what he can do to stop it, because if Harry Kane drops into his space, he's got to move. If Sterling or Saka come into his space, he's got to move. But he hasn't found an answer to that. And I think he's almost been a black hole for England. He hasn't offered a huge amount. He hasn't created a lot of chances. He hasn't defended specifically well. Like, I can't remember a moment from any game where I thought he was a standout player for us.
What do Italy have to do in this game to beat England? Because in my opinion, it is the two best sides in this tournament meeting in the final. And I know we've had Italy-Belgium. You could say that's good enough to be a final, Italy-Spain. But England and Italy generally have been the two best sides in this tournament. And they're meeting in the final. What do Italy have to do to kind of beat England? What would their game plan be?
I think they need to go back to what they were even in the quarterfinals, where they come out the blocks firing, where they do a really high press, where they force the ball off the opposition, and where they attack at speed as quickly as they can, as many times as they can. What made them so good in the group stages, and to me so good against Belgium, especially in that first half, was every time they got the ball, it's straight. It's the same as Leeds. Everyone, no matter where you're standing, it's just a straight line towards goal. And you just bomb on. They just destroy defenses like that. It's exhausting to play against. They know England are going to sit back. They're going to try and absorb as much pressure as they can. They're going to try and outrun the opposition, which they've done all tournament long. They showed that against Denmark. Just let him tire himself out, and then we'll beat them. But I think Italy are too good for that. Players like Insigne and Immobile, if they get a chance, like the Danes got, it's going to be a goal. If you don't close down Insigne 30 yards out of goal, he'll just curl into the top corner. He'll say thank you. Same with Immobile. Then you've got Jorginho, who can actually pull the strings. Like, Denmark are a good team. Italy are a great side. And I think Italy need to channel that. And you can see it. They know what they're doing. They know what it looks like at home. They know what they've got to beat. They've got to beat that side that didn't qualify for a World Cup. And the only way they can do that is essentially winning a trophy. And they seem to believe it, and they need to keep believing it, and they need to just hammer England as hard as they can. Because if they set back, England will let them, and it will play out to what will look like a really boring draw. But there's no way Chiellini, Bonucci, Jorginho, some of these older players are going to be able to keep up with England when they throw on 5 20-year-olds like Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, etc., who are just going to run circles around them at that point.
Well, that is an important factor. And so one I was going to get to is England's depth, because England's depth is immense. When you think about players like Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford are not even getting on in semi-finals, it shows you what, again, well, I've said this term before, like a treasure trove of quality that Gareth Southgate can draw on. But I think that England need to try and stop Jorginho playing as well. He really kind of he gets Italy playing high up the pitch as well, in that kind of like that Pirlo role where he draws the midfield, he kind of suckers them in, and then it means the Italy players picking up little pockets of space in behind. And we saw Denmark do that. Players pick up space behind Rice and Phillips, and it caused England a lot of trouble. And Italy are better at doing that, and Jorginho's better at
finding space.
Jorginho's better at finding those players as well. So it's going to be a key thing, I think, England trying to stop him, because he's been better than I remember him ever being for Chelsea, which is kind of goes under the radar at Chelsea. Not that he doesn't do a good job, but for Italy, he seems to stand out a lot more.
I think he seems to be better at picking out attacking players for Italy, but I think that also is the difference in play. Chelsea don't play open football. I mean, open football specifically at the back. So Jorginho can't just ping balls forward and know he's got a right back, a left back, two midfielders in front of him, and a striker and possibly a winger all driving into that space. It is a far more controlled style of play. And I think in Italy, every time he gets the ball, it's a trigger to every player to move forward as quickly as humanly possible, because they know Jorginho can find him. And I think if Mount plays, Mount's job is to stand on his toes the entire game. Mark Jorginho out the game, it's going to be a lot harder to get the ball to Insigne and Immobile.
Is Mount the man to do that, though?
I think anybody who's fit enough is the man to do that. But James Ward-Prowse would be, but...
how can he'll be going on about this? They're in a final, god damn it.
Where's Jack Grealish?
Look, it's obviously the best side England have played, but the plan seems to work better as much as Kane playing a lot more in his kind of Tottenham role, where he does pick the ball up deep, allowing the pacey players to run in behind, and him picking them out. He is found a new lease of life, and he is in the penalty area a lot more himself. But do you think
better right now?
I don't think England are going to change that regard in terms of like him still trying to get the ball to feet to allow Sterling and whoever else to run in behind.
I think Sterling, since the Germany game, has been possibly our best player. Up until that point, to me, he got some goals, but there was so little else offered that as a player who's kind of a midfield / striker, that sort of hybrid back and forth, he wasn't offering a lot. He's been so good. And Kane was coming back to receive the ball, and Sterling was nowhere to be found, or he stood right next to him being like, yeah, here. And there. But Saka and Sterling both seem to be driving forward a lot more now.
I had exactly the same thing written down on my notes, and it was at the start. It's like you're seeing a Sterling when he was playing for Liverpool again, rather than a Sterling for City. Whereas City, it's very much pass and move, get in space, finish things off. And when he tries to do that for England, he looks a little bit like Bambi on ice, really, or as he looked like in the first few games. But then yesterday and against Ukraine, he just got the ball and ran at people. And it caused so many problems. And that is a Sterling I haven't seen for such a long time. And it's great to see him playing with the confidence and the kind of backing. There's no one's on his back or anything like that. And he's just playing with 100% confidence and belief in himself. And I think that he is a massive surprise, but he could end up with a player of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, he's also, him and Kane are pretty close to Golden Boot status. I think Schick has 5, Kane has 4. Sterling has 3 or 4. Ronaldo's 5. So
Kane's on 4, Sterling's on 3.
It's also worth noting that Jordan Pickford has already won the Golden Glove. He's got 4 of 5 of 6 games. He's a clean sheet, which is absolutely fantastic for him.
Is that for his amateur boxing career?
Yes, indeed. I particularly enjoyed the moment yesterday where he rolled the ball out to a Danish player 25 yards out of goal, who then passes it to his teammate, who just skies it or someone blocks it. And Jordan Pickford has got both hands up and winks and is like, sorry, that was me, guys. And everyone there is like, yep, we know. we just saw you just give it away.
There were a few twitchy moments for Pickford, but yesterday he has been pretty much amazing. But also, you're absolutely right with Pickford. Lazy bastard. Every time someone takes a shot, he's screaming at those defenders. He just doesn't want to do any work.
It's so funny though that And I love it. I've talked about this enough times. A goalkeeper needs that sort of aggression. They need to be commanding. They need to be telling the defenders what to do. And any shot on goal is not good enough. You look at the Petr Cechs, the David Seamans, the Van der Sars, the Casper and Peter Schmeichels. You don't want anyone to shoot. You want a clean sheet and you want to stand there and do nothing.
Simon Eastwood.
There you go, Simon Eastwood. Oh, and you gotta love that Pickford does that at international level. And I just loved it that yesterday he had possibly his worst game in an England shirt in this tournament. And there is just such like a tongue-in-cheek, like, no one shout at me. I get it. I get it. I know what it's like. Please don't shout at me though, I'm the goalkeeper. And everyone was like, okay.
Before we get into predictions, there's just a couple of things here. Well, actually, two things here. How much do you think this Wembley factor is going to roar England on? Do you think that's going to play into it, or it certainly did? It seemed at times to make them play better, and at the start of the game they were a little bit overawed by it at times.
I think that the media have really liked to highlight, the Germany game, the Scotland game, England are reacting. I don't think they reacted there. I actually just think they weren't very good at times. I think against Germany, they thought they were going to be playing a much better side, and they kept waiting for the better side to turn up, and they didn't. And eventually they're like, oh, cool, well, we'll go that way then. Denmark was the first match where I saw the England players visibly go, oh, we could be in the final here. It seemed to finally dawn on them, and there were moments where the crowd was really useful, especially once they were 2-1 up. The crowd was like that extra bit of energy they needed, and it wore Denmark down. But I don't think the crowd will matter for a solid 70 minutes this game. England are in their first cup final in 55 years. Not one of these players was around during the last one. Gareth Southgate wasn't around during the last final. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for this England side. We may never make another final. We can still be a good side, but some of the best teams don't make finals, and they're going to know that, and it's at home. And the Italians are going to bring a lot of fans. We already know that. They did it at Wembley against Spain, and I don't think are going to give England a lot of breathing space, and I don't think the crowd will have a huge effect on the game till the latter stages. And if they're chanting and they're still singing no matter what the score is, then we England have a chance to go on and score. But it all depends on which England turns up and which Italy turns up, because the Italians we saw early in the tournament could blitzkrieg England. Equally, England could hold it out. They could make it attritional, and they could end up winning 1 or 2-0.
I mean, that's saying England are a dangerous side as well, just as much as Italy are, and it can create chances.
It's very contrasting.
I do worry. I was worried. The one thing that worried me in the Denmark game, well, there were numerous things, but as the game ticked on, England were in control. The one thing that worried me was if this goes to penalties, I just don't see England score. I just don't see England beating Schmeichel. He's such a beast of a keeper, and again they come up against another formidable keeper in Donnarumma, and he didn't have a great game in the semi-final, but in the penalties he just looks enormous. And I worry England do face another kind of beast of a keeper, if you like, in this one.
Kind of, but they also have Jordan Pickford, who I don't think the Italians are going to be particularly excited to go against. Pickford, the really only slight you have, and the free kick that is his size. Right, that's the only thing. He is genuinely 6 inches shorter than most goalkeepers, which means he's missing almost a foot at full wingspan when he's jumping. And you see the difference between Courtois saving something down his throat and Pickford saving something down his throat. But on a penalty, if it's not in the corner, Pickford's probably there. And I think they're going to be just as afraid of that as we are. And I think that's just the definition of penalties at the end of the day, isn't it? I did think England were good at penalties until I saw Harry Kane copy Morata's.
So hopefully we won't get to that, but we will see. Right, it's time, Tom. It's time to finally get there, and thank you for sticking through us in this video.
Go first in this, Ian. You go first.
Sure. Well, I've kind of lost the competition anyway, so you've kind of done me. Although
That's
I did get the one, but I will go first in this one. And as my notes were wrong at the start, and England have been in a final before, I think that I'm going to copy the score from the World Cup final in 1966. That's right. I'm going for, after extra time, England 4, Italy 2. Some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. Call the game off for pitch invasion. I'm
going to be pretty close to you. I'm going with a 3-2 victory. I mean, maybe England will set out super defensively and stuff, but I can't see the Italians not scoring, and I can't see England not reacting the way they did against Denmark, where the minute they conceded, it was like everyone just went, all right, cool, throw the rule book out, throw this attritional bullshit that we wanted to do out, we're attacking.
England fans, Italy fan. If you're an Italy fan watching this, don't be surprised that we've gone for England. It's like
never show weakness.
It's very biased opinions.
What's the shirt you're wearing?
Let us know down below. Don't just immediately hit that downvote button. Just do let us know your comments down below as well. We do try to be fair and give a fair view on it. Before you wrap it up, Tom, I'm just going to do one thing really quickly, and it's something that I've heard floating around on TalkSport of a Musk and a few of the pundits. So, as a Manchester United fan, or do you want to look at it from a Chicago Fire? Which one? We'll go Man United.
Orlando Magic?
If you had the chance of one of these things, which one would you take? England to win the Euros. You can only have one. England to win the Euros, or Man United to win the Champions League next season?
England to win the Euros. 100%. 100%. Honestly, also, last night, being in a bar with like 60 other people when the go-ahead goal went in and then full-time was called, it was like the 2012 Olympics all over again. It was that sort of thing that was so much fun to be part of, and it was so much fun for everyone to be part of it. Like, tons of people there in like English face paint. They clearly didn't care about football until this, and it's so nice just to be out with everyone in a good mood, and win, lose, or draw. We're in the final. We're in the first final in 55 years. I'm hyped. If you were to pick between being an Oxford United supporter and winning the League One and the Championship, and then making the Champions League and the Premier League, or an England European title, what would you pick?
Well, you've kind of stacked that up with multiple trophies there for Oxford United, but right, I heard all of your things, and as I say, for those of you that don't know this channel very well, I am an Oxford United fan in League One. I don't support those Premier League fancy Dans. So I would say I would cast aside what you said about Championship and Premier League. If it was between Oxford winning League One and England winning the Euros, I would pick Oxford winning League One in a fucking heartbeat.
Scum. Right, I just really want to quickly say thank you. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thank you to Robert Allen, Christina Allen, PJ Simpson, and Matthew Bowden, and everyone else that supports us. If you guys enjoyed this channel, please consider, supporting us. We really appreciate it. Please comment below, like, subscribe. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Keep commenting. Let us know if you want us to cover the Olympics. Someone suggested this the other day. I didn't even know it was a real competition, but okay. And we will be back at some point with something. We love you all. See you later.